Okay, today we're going to pull back the curtain on a quiet but really huge revolution that's happening inside medical labs. We're talking about the massive shift away from those towering paper binders and into smart digital portals that keep track of the skills of life-saving staff. Let's dive in. Every single time you get a blood test, there is a highly skilled professional working behind the scenes. And making sure they are perfectly trained, that's not just good management, it is absolutely critical for patient safety. When the stakes are this high, there is literally zero room for error. So here's our game plan for this explainer. First, we'll look at why this is so important. Then, we'll diagnose the old paperwork problem, and trust me, it's a big one. And then we'll explore the digital solution that is completely changing the game for labs and how they stay ready for anything. All right, first things first, we really have to understand the landscape here. This isn't about a company just, choosing to be more organized. We are talking about strict, legally binding standards that every single medical lab has to meet just to open its doors. And right at the heart of all these standards is something called the competency assessment. You should think of it as the ultimate final exam. It's the formal, documented proof that a lab professional not only learned how to do something, but that they can do it perfectly every single time. It's the verification that all that training actually stuck. So who's asking for all this proof? Well, it's a whole alphabet soup of oversight bodies. You've got CLI in the US, the global ISO 1589 standard. The list goes on. These organizations make sure labs are held to the absolute highest standard possible. It's a total non-negotiable in modern healthcare. Which brings us to the central villain of our story. For decades, the only way to manage this complex web of rules was with paper forms, binders that were literally overflowing in these clunky, awful spreadsheets. This old-school analog approach in a digital world, it created some massive, massive problems. Yeah, the old paper-based way is just a constant source of stress. It means hunting down signatures, worrying about a critical record getting lost, and, oh yeah, that heart-stopping panic when an auditor walks through the door unannounced. The new digital way just replaces all that chaos with calm. You get automation, centralized data, and instant access to everything. And this is where our story takes a turn for the better. The solution is here. We're talking about modern digital platforms, built from the ground up to solve that paperwork nightmare. And look, this isn't some niche trend. This is a full-blown industry transformation. Just let this numbers sink in for a second. 5 million. That is how many competency assessments have already been successfully completed on major digital platforms. So this is not an experiment, right? This is a proven, battle-tested movement at a massive scale. It just shows you how ready labs were for a change. And the real value is felt every single day. This quote from a lab administrator, it says it all. It's about empowering your staff to own their own training while giving managers that crystal clear, high-level overview they've always needed, but could never, ever get from a stack of paper. So, for the rest of our time here, we're going to focus on one specific system that really brings all these ideas to life, the Lab Competence Portal. It was designed for one single purpose: to replace all that paper and all those spreadsheets with a clean, powerful web app. So how does a system like this actually work? What is it that makes it so effective? Well, it all pretty much boils down to two key ingredients: getting the right information to the right people and being incredibly flexible. Okay, so a huge piece of the puzzle is role-based access, which this table lays out perfectly. A scientist at the bench, they only need to see their own to-do list. A senior scientist, who's also a trainer, can oversee their team's progress. And then the training coordinator gets that 30,000-foot view to manage the entire department. Everybody gets their own personalized dashboard with zero clutter. It's brilliant. So how can just one system handle everything from a super complex blood gas analyzer to a simple microscope task? Well, the secret is a really flexible design. Instead of rigid, hard-coded forms, it uses these smart, adaptable digital templates. This means an admin can create a custom assessment for any instrument or any procedure. And here's the crucial part. Every record is locked to the exact version of the template that was used at that time, which, for an audit, is an absolutely critical detail. So in practice, the workflow is just beautifully simple. An administrator defines a section, let's say biochemistry. They create a template for a specific analyzer, assign it to the right staff with a renewal date, and boom, it instantly pops up on each person's personal dashboard. It's structured, it's simple, and it's completely traceable. Now, a system that handles the core lab, That's great. But what about the single trickiest competency challenge in the entire hospital? I am talking about point of care testing, or POC. This is stuff that happens far away from the lab walls, and it creates a massive administrative headache. I mean, just think about it for a second. You might have hundreds, maybe even thousands of nurses and doctors across dozens of different departments who all need training on devices like glucose meters. Staff turnover is high, and manually creating user counts and tracking training for all of them, that's basically a full-time job in itself. This is where a truly innovative workflow changes everything. So instead of that manual nightmare, an admin simply generates a QR code for a device. A nurse who needs training just scans the code with their phone, fills out a quick form, and that is it. A training request is automatically logged, the right trainer gets notified, and the entire interaction is captured digitally, forever. This single feature can reclaim hundreds of hours of administrative time. It's a game changer. And all of this, the smart roles, the adaptable templates, the slick workflows, it all builds towards one ultimate, game-changing result for the entire lab. The goal, the big payoff, is to be always audit ready. So an inspector asks for the competency record for Jane Doe on instrument X from 2 years ago. Instead of a frantic, week-long search through dusty binders, it is a 10-second search. It transforms audit prep from weeks of stress into minutes of confidence. Every record is secure, it's centralized, and it's instantly available. Look, moving from paper to a portal is a monumental leap, but what's really exciting is that it's just the beginning. It's building the foundation for what comes next. So the question we're left with is this: with a solid digital backbone now in place, could AI-driven assessments be the next frontier in guaranteeing quality and safety in the lab? It's a pretty fascinating possibility, right?